wake up, it's time to be free. Wake up, was blind, now I see. Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Welcome, this is Jullien Gordon. It's another episode of your Daily Jules where I drop nuggets of wisdom on how you can get free. We've been duped and indebted by the education system, and the reality is that you have a gold mine. If you learn how to mine it, you can actually move toward freedom a lot faster. And I want to share my journey with you, as well as some frameworks and facts and strategies that will help you accelerate your process. So today's question comes from Mwali and Henry. Mwali and Chantel, Mwali, Henry, and Chantel, and they asked about how to form partnerships. And I believe that partnerships are actually the fastest way to expand absolutely anything that you have or creating. And I'll just give you some examples of some great partnerships that I've seen out there. The first partnership that really sticks out to me is actually Google. If you don't know, Google was actually powering Yahoo search. So back in the day, if you went to Yahoo, the search would say powered by Google. So Google had found this algorithm for how to search through information, and before they became a search engine company, somehow they got formed a partnership with Yahoo to say, let us power your search, because at that time, Yahoo had more of a folder-based system. So the folder was sports, and then there would be all kinds of sports, and then you can go into that folder. That's how they actually organized information. Google said, we have this algorithm that is similar to the algorithm that is used for higher education and the quality of a paper by, when academics reference other academics who are referenced the most. So the quality of a paper in academia is kind of based on how many people you reference that have been referenced a lot, right? And so Google's algorithm did that, and that actually shied away from Yahoo's organization of information on the internet. And so somehow, some way, and they're both in the Silicon Valley, somehow, some way, Google said, how about we power your search, right? And so Google was actually a search box on Yahoo, okay? And they formed that partnership. And as Google started to recognize the power of its algorithm, it actually stepped away from Yahoo, right, after its name had been developed, because Yahoo was one of the big players at the time, and said, we're going to have our own search engine. And all they did was, bam, search, right? But had they not formed that partnership with Yahoo first, I don't know if Google would have done as well. You know, we've seen other search engines like Bing and Ask Jeeves. Google has obviously come out on top in so many ways, and they've applied search to things beyond the web, from maps to your email, etc. Right? So that was a powerful partnership. Another example of a powerful partnership that I've seen is actually the NFL and the breast cancer awareness. Breast cancer awareness, they took over the color pink, and then they got very masculine men who you might or might not find in pink often, to actually wear that on Sunday, where millions of people are watching these games, whether it's their socks, their wristbands, their helmets, their entire uniform. And I think that was a powerful partnership in terms of getting awareness out, right? Rather than us continuing to go out there and do these sad commercials about this disease, they said, how do we partner to expand awareness? And they own pink first and foremost, so you have to have something that's working. They own, like Google, they own pink, and then they said, how do we get this in front of as many people as possible? And I would be interested to see how much their donations have increased as a result of these campaigns. Another great partnership that I've seen is actually Red Bull, and GoPro, right? They partnered because what? because they have very similar audiences. And if GoPro's audience, they're both like interactive and engaging type of brands, right? Active, adventurous type of brands. And so they could share audiences without cannibalizing each other's business, right? Red Bull doesn't sell cameras and GoPro doesn't sell drinks. And so they have almost identical audiences. In fact, I would actually draw this circle like this. They have almost identical audiences, and therefore that made a great partnership because they had identical audiences without cannibalizing each other's businesses. Google obviously cannibalized Yahoo's business because Yahoo didn't see what was coming, right? So they did the space jump where GoPro was filming the space jump, but the person who was jumping had a Red Bull spacesuit on. So you can go look at that. Okay, so those are just some good examples of partnerships to start off. Okay, so I'll share with you some of my partnerships that have been really powerful, and the questions that I ask myself when it comes to forming a partnership. The first question I ask is, what organization? What org or group, because partnership could be with an individual. In fact, musicians do great at partnerships, and podcasters, right? Whenever somebody features on another person's song, what is that? That's a form of partnership, right? Now I'm getting access to your audience. When Kendrick Lamar, right, goes and features on Taylor Swift's song, I don't know if Kendrick Lamar listened to any Taylor Swift before that moment, right? But he went there, and now he has access to that audience, and now there's some Kendrick Lamar people who are now listening to some Taylor Swift. That's a form of partnership. So first question I ask is, what org or group is actively looking for what I have? So Google asked a question, and they said Yahoo would benefit a lot from what we've created, right? So that's how they solved. How they answered that question. The other question, this is kind of the Red Bull GoPro question, is what org has my target audience en masse? Okay, that's question number 2. And then question number 3 is, what organization could I add my yeast to and cause it to expand? What org could I add? This is funny, right? My yeast, I'm going to capitalize that, to and cause it to expand. So let me explain what yeast is. You all know what yeast is. When you have dough and you put yeast into the dough, what does it do? It causes the bread to rise, right? It causes the bread to rise. And so why is that powerful? Yeast is not bread in and of itself, right? But when you add this one single ingredient to the dough, it causes the bread to expand. So when you look at the work that you do or whatever it is that you are trying to create, what kind of organization could you add your single ingredient to and actually cause that organization to expand? So I'll give you an example of maybe ClickFunnels or Salesforce. Salesforce says, look, you have an old CRM. If you add this ingredient, which is our technology, we believe and we have demonstrated that it will cause your organization to expand. If, for example, there could be an online company that simply specializes in credit card fails. And they say if you add this credit card failure follow-up sequence to your existing business, right, just this element, you add this ingredient, it will cause your business to expand by 10% by reclaiming all the failed credit card or 80% of the failed credit cards because people just forgot to renew, right? So this is an example of yeast, right? The credit card fail sequence is not the business in and of itself, but if you add this one single ingredient to that business, it will cause that business to expand or a piece of that business to expand, right? So for me, I've had a couple partnerships that have been really powerful and that actually have caused me to expand. I'm going to share them with you. So the first one that I had is the National NSCS. That's the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. So I originally in my speaking business, actually I didn't have a speaking business, I wrote this blog post about 66 things that every college student must do before they graduate, and it went kind of viral. Again, you have to have something. Google had something, right? And that's what allowed the partnership to open the door. It's hard to form a partnership if you don't have something to bring to the table, right? I wrote this blog post. It went viral, and I shared it with NSCS, the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, because they I was a member when I was at UCLA, and I was a member when I was at UCLA, and they had chapters all over the country, and I was like, they have my audience, right? And actually, I wasn't even thinking about it in that term at the time. I just said, I just want their membership to see this because I think it would be valuable. So I sent it to them, and they sent it out to their membership list, and they got such an amazing response. They called me back and said, do you have a presentation for this? And at the time, I did not have a presentation. But I said, yeah, I have a presentation. When do you want me to come? I went down to D.C., I created the presentation, went down to D.C., gave them a 60-minute presentation that embodied the 66 things to do before you graduate. That's actually where the other 4.0 came from, right? The other 4.0 is the higher framework, and the 66 things actually fit into that. That's also where my book, 101 Things to Do Before You Graduate, came from, right? It expanded into that. And so that partnership, because they had chapters all over the country, they sent me on a 30 college campus tour. That's literally what kicked off my speaking career. On top of that, they met the CEO of an organization called CODA at the time that was seeking to dominate the campus recruiting space. And so they wanted access to NSCS's membership. So they got CODA to actually sponsor, right? They got CODA to actually sponsor the tour. So nothing came out of their pocket. I launched my speaking business, and CODA got access to their membership, right? It was a win-win-win-win for everybody. So that's an example of partnership, okay? That's one of the best examples. My other book, The Interview, right here. So I wrote this book, The Interview, on everything you need to know before your job interview. I wrote that book there, and I partnered with Indiana University. They had a career class that served about 1,000 students per semester, and their curriculum was kind of sporadic. It was just a whole bunch of kind of other professors who were teaching this career class and just piecing together information. And I said, look, my curriculum, let me send you a couple copies of my curriculum and see if it's actually a fit for your program. And I sent it to them. They loved it, and it became the required text for this school. So now I got 1,000 students per semester paying $45 for a book that is now required. And my book, $45, you know how much textbooks cost. I could have probably charged more, but that's not how I treat students or how I think about students. But you see, they taught this class before they had an administration change. They taught this class for 2 years like that, right? So that's an example of partnership. Who could benefit from what I have the most, okay? So when you are thinking about partnerships, one, they have something you need and you have something that they need, right? You can also think about this in the context of dating. You value each other's contributions, and together 1 + 1 actually equals 3, right? That's another criteria of a great partnership. It's literally plug and play, right? The work that NASCS had to do when I presented the partnership or the idea came up, it was plug and play. We didn't have to do all this time integrating into each other, right? It was literally plug and play. That makes the partnership easier to adopt, right? And then finally, for me, when I step into a partnership, I am willing to make them the star. I wanted NSCS to be the star. NSCS actually headlined. It didn't say Jullien Gordon and NSCS present the Route 66 tour. No, it said NSCS in big letters in partnership with Jullien Gordon in smaller letters present the Route 66 tour. I like to make my partners the star, because if they are the star and they're getting a lot of benefit, then what happens in the partnership? The partnership continues on. So this is how to create partnerships that will expand your business. It's really, really powerful. it's easier than growing your business one customer at a time, right? Or getting a donor, one donor at a time. Partnership is actually the fastest way to expand your business. And so if you can find the right partners, you can multiply really, really quickly. So from Wally and Chantel, I hope that is helpful. I think it will apply to international context as well. I have never done anything internationally to this extent yet, but this is how I think about forming partnerships, okay? So that is your Daily Jewel. I hope that helps you move closer to your degree of freedom that you desire. I believe that it will, because it's faster than going one by one, all right? Cool. Peace. I hope these mindsets, metaphors, and methodologies blessed you. If you desire more freedom, go to getfreenow.com to subscribe to the show on iTunes, YouTube, or Facebook, and get 4 of my best courses in the Freedom School for 100% free.